Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our April Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic, to its state,
and
one nation, under God,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty.
justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Education meeting from March 9th.
Motion.
Second,
21. Motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
yeah, second, I said,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to move Treasurer's Report of February 2021.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the statement of paid claims for March 2021.
Motion.
Thanks, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jill. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, that brings us to the capital project report. Jim, all yours.
Good evening, everybody. This is my report for April of 2021. At Lakeside, the new walkway was installed leading from the teacher's parking lot to the front entrance of Lakeside. This change included increased drainage for the driving loop in front of Lakeside and regrading of the earth in the center island. As per the engineer, this should resolve the parking lot flooding issue, providing a place for the rain to go. At the same time, 2 drainage pools were opened. We await the recommendation from BBS, the architect, as to what, if anything, needs to be done with the 2 pools. Monitoring of the areas after a substantial rainfall naturally will occur. Arrow Window has installed the new emergency egress windows at Chatterton. Arrow is moving on to Lakeside, where the first step will be to remove exterior caulking, which contains asbestos. This removal will occur after school hours and under the district's environmental consultant, J.C. Broderick. After that, the window replacement can begin. The scope of the window replacement includes several windows in the gymnasium and administration building. The low bid contract for Chatterton's nurse's office renovation has been vetted and is on tonight's board agenda for approval. The contractor estimates the work at Chatterton would take less than 1 month to complete. And this concludes my report for April of 2021.
As always, thank you, Jim.
You're more than welcome.
Our budget presentation, final budget review.
Okay, so in a second, Ryan's going to go over the budget presentation. Just vamp him to give him a second to get the presentation up. As Dr. Kaplan said, tonight is the night where we'd like you to adopt the budget in its entirety. We have been fortunate that the legislature settled the state's budget and we were given additional state aid. Unfortunately, some of it's targeted only to opening a full-day universal pre-K program, which would be far more costly than the limited aid they were giving from that. But what I'm happy to say is that the additional aid that was approved will bring our budget into balance, and Ryan's going to talk about that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Palmer. And yes, I will go ahead and bring my presentation up. Okay, so this is our April 13th presentation of the 21-22 budget. And I'd first like to briefly revisit our tax levy limit calculation. This remains unchanged from last month's meeting. So we are still going out with a 1.98% increase in our levy. I would also just like to point out this percentage right here, which is 1.123. This is our growth factor, which was applied to all school districts across New York State. So of the 1.98 total, approximately 0.75% is attributable to our increased project related to the bond. We were able to include that obviously in our tax levy limit this year and reflect only a modest under 2% calculation for the levy limit for this year. So we're very proud about doing that.
I just want to jump in on that. So the bond project that was approved in 2016 was for a total of $24.9 million. Much earlier, back at the time, the Board of Education decided to fund $5 million of it from the district's fund balance, leaving $19.9 million remaining. This is the one and only increase in taxes that will occur to pay that. So it won't go away. It'll be there for 15 years in the tax rate, but the tax rate will not increase again to meet that expenditure. That was in large part due to some good timing with old bonds coming off. So all the work that's been done throughout the district, the work that'll be finished up this summer that Jim O'Byrne just spoke about, is going to be, it's in the budget now. It's in the tax rate after this going.
Yes, that's correct. So we're looking to keep that tax levy limit, which was submitted up to New York State at 1.97%. Here's a brief summary of the revenue projections, largely unchanged from the last meeting in March, although I would like to point out a change in our state aid figure there. So the state aid figure, the legislature finally came together and adopted a state budget. We received our state aid runs just last week, and we were able to close the gap on our budget, due in large part to an increase in foundation aid. I would like to point out there is an effort by the state legislature and the governor, presumably to really try and focus on providing foundation aid to the schools. The formula to calculate foundation aid has been adjusted, and there's an effort now to get all schools to fully fund and fully receive all the foundation aid they are due from New York State. So we do see an increase in our foundation aid as a result of that. But as a point, we are already about 88% funded in our foundation aid formula. So there's not a lot of way for us to go, which is great because we want to make sure that we continue to receive that aid going forward. So we are happy about that. And that increase is reflected in that $7.2 million state aid figure there on your screen. Also on the screen towards the bottom is an increase in the appropriated fund balance. That reflects a usage of the $500,000 of the unassigned fund balance to help us also close the gap in order to provide all the requisite services that we are looking to provide for the students next year. Underneath that figure is also an appropriated capital reserve figure. On your agenda this evening is a proposed proposition to utilize the capital reserve in the amount of $500,000. That is to help us provide cash flow to install, upgrade, and improve our Wi-Fi infrastructure across the district. So that is a smart bond eligible project. The district will receive reimbursement once the project is completed. However, this capital reserve usage enables us to protect our general fund, and it ultimately provides us the cash flow to sustain that project and pay out the expenditures associated with it. So that leaves us with a $55 million revenue budget, which will then match the expense budget shown here. Again, not a lot of movement here from last March or from last meeting in March. The only change I would like to point out is the increase in the interfund transfer line. That is where the capital reserve usage is being recorded on the expense side. This is the expense side of the budget. So we need to balance out both revenues and expenditures. So that interfund transfer line item has that 500,000 that will be funded into the capital fund, which is where the project expenditures, the purchase orders, where all that activity will take place. And leaning a little bit more into what is on proposition number 2, the smart bond allocation had a project to increase our capacity on our fiber optic cabling. We're moving to more industry standard Cat 6A cabling, and also replacing all of our Wi-Fi access points throughout the district. Just an example of the one just outside my office over here. And all of these items are going to be funded through the cash flow provided by the capital reserve. This Wi-Fi cabling will ultimately enable us to provide a more robust experience for our students, and also essentially future-proof our infrastructure so we can see this being sustained for years down the road. And finally, here is a brief summary of the calendar. We are here at April 13 to adopt the budget. The next meeting that we will have will be May 4, which will be our required budget hearing. And then the vote is on May 18th. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody, board, questions?
Very clear.
Yes, very clear. Ryan, thank you very much. Know that you jumped in midstream and worked really hard to put that together. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
On that now to adopt the budget?
It's in the agenda. Few
Got it.
items.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to good and welfare. Congratulations to Melissa Froelich, teacher at Birch School, on the birth of her son, Nathaniel Anthony Froelich, on March 17th. Congratulations to Kathleen Harrington, teaching assistant at Chatterton School, on the engagement of her son, James Harrington, to Christina Grupe. I hope I said that correctly. And congratulations to Holly Collins, typist clerk at Chatterton School, on the engagement of her daughter, Brenda Collins, to Ben Rutman. Sincerest condolences to Abby Cohen, teacher at Birch School, on the passing of her father, David Arlen. Condolences to Rosella Spear, teaching assistant at Chatterton School, on the passing of her father-in-law, Howard Spear. Condolences to Victoria Ryan, teacher at Lakeside School, on the passing of her father, Kevin Ryan. And condolences to Denise Crowley, teaching assistant at Lakeside School, on the passing of her father, Pasquale Guaracci. I hope I said that correctly too. That brings us to the first hearing of visitors on items in the superintendent's report. I don't believe we have anybody, correct?
Correct. There's nothing in the email comments related to the superintendent's report.
Okay, Dr. Palmer, should I turn the meeting over to you at this point to talk about personnel?
Thank you very much. So tonight, in education, tonight's a very special night. We are here to, or I am here to request that the Board of Education consider a number of our teachers and teaching assistants for tenure. That is a important part. I'm sorry, as I'm doing this, I'm trying to get to my screen to share. That is a great milestone in the career of educators. Basically, it's an acknowledgement that they spent the last 4 years doing an above average job, and that we are interested in granting them tenure and have them work a long career with us. So to help me with this process, I have the building administrators, and I'm going to ask them to speak on behalf of their staff members before, after we go to the teachers, I'll ask the board to consider tenure for the teachers, and then we'll move into the teaching assistants, and I'll ask the board to consider tenure for the teaching assistants. So the first person that we're going to talk about is Renee Baritz, who is a FLES teacher, primarily at Birch. Sorry, thank you. You're muted, Carrie.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present our Teachers for Tenure. We are so proud of them. They have worked so hard and really made a difference in the lives of children. Mrs. Renee Baritz has been a teacher in Merrick since September 2018. She received her Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education and Spanish from New York University and her Master of Science in Adolescent Literacy from Hunter College. Additionally, she received her FLES certification from Molloy College and completed her Advanced Graduate Certificate in TESOL from the University at Albany. Prior to her employment in Merrick, she taught in New York City for 4 years. Ms. Baritz is an exceptional educator. Upon entering Ms. Baritz's classroom, one recognizes her passion for the Spanish language, which then assimilates to the students' love for learning a second language. Her lessons incorporate technology and engaging hands-on activities. She values assessment and maintains accurate records to guide future instruction and assess student progress. She regularly communicates with parents and ensures they are part of their child's learning experiences. Reflection is an integral part of let's call her Senora Baritz's teaching process. She has stated, reflective teaching allows me to regularly self-assess my performance, teaching style, and pedagogy, which in turn alters my approach to produce optimal student engagement and learning. To be a successful reflective teacher requires that I take time to evaluate and adjust my style to meet the many needs of my students. Senora Baritz recognizes the importance of participating within the professional community. She works very closely with her FLES and ENL colleagues to discuss lesson planning, best practices, and curriculum. Senora Baritz has been an integral part of revising and updating the FLES curriculum across grade levels to promote language proficiency, as well as to foster a deeper understanding and appreciation of the Spanish-speaking world. Senora Baritz had the opportunity to serve as a support system and mentor of a new teacher to her department. She meets with her regularly to share materials and new ideas, and embraced being observed by her on multiple occasions. She has respectful and collaborative relationships with teachers in both the FLES and the ENL departments, as well as the grade level teachers of the students she works with. Senora Baritz has been a member of No Place for Hate Committee at Chatterton School, as well as the Merrick Diversity Committee. Her involvement on these committees supports her goal of enhancing an environment for diversity within the Merrick community. Senora Baritz seeks opportunities outside the school community to foster her professional growth. She is a member of various professional organizations, including the New York State Association of Foreign Language Teachers. Following the school day, Senora Baritz often attends courses to further her learning. Senora Baritz has become an integral part of our school community, and it is with great pleasure that we recommend the granting of tenure to this highly dedicated professional in the Merrick Union Free School District.
Thank you, Ms. Galante. The next person is Erica Girardi.
That's me again. Mrs. Erica Girardi has taught kindergarten and third grade in the Merrick School District since September 2016. She received her Bachelor of Science in General Education from SUNY Oneonta and Master's in Special Education from CUNY Hunter. Following the school day, Mrs. Girardi often attends courses to further her learning. Mrs. Girardi provides high-quality instruction for her students in a nurturing environment. She has embraced district initiatives and is committed to professional growth. During instructional time, students in Mrs. Girardi's class are actively engaged in meaningful activities. She works collaboratively and is exceptional at planning to meet the needs of all students. She utilizes data to analyze growth and monitor progress, and in turn, adjusts her instruction. Mrs. Girardi is thoughtful when planning her lessons to motivate and provide individualized experiences for students. She is creative, highly organized, and reflective. Mrs. Girardi has a calming effect on students, using a kind, respectful, and gentle approach. She strongly believes that all children can learn if guided, challenged, and motivated to put forth their best effort. She consistently offers positive feedback to her students, which is encouraging and motivating. She has helped countless students to persevere through their struggles, which leads them toward greater success throughout their education and in their daily lives. Mrs. Girardi builds excellent relationships with students and their families. She makes herself available to meet with parents on a regular basis, including emails and telephone calls. Ms. Girardi has the best interests of her students in mind. When a challenge arises, she works closely with the parents, the mental health staff, and the building administration to assist the students. Ms. Girardi is extremely involved in her professional learning community. She is an excellent colleague and willingly shares her expertise with other teachers. She's a leader among her grade level, regularly offering ideas and strategies to improve the learning experiences for all students. She has created materials and instructional strategies which she readily shares. She has partnered with our literacy coaches and has attended and hosted lab sites to further her professional development and that of others, and attended the Literacy for All conference in Rhode Island. Additionally, she has participated on district-wide committees, including but not limited to Visible Learning and Equity in Education. Ms. Girardi is constantly seeking opportunities to learn and grow as a professional. Ms. Girardi is a responsible teacher with a strong work ethic. She's rarely absent and is extremely punctual. She works well with her colleagues to collaborate on improving instruction and provides high-quality direction to the paraprofessional staff working in her classroom. She is well liked by her colleagues and students and communicates professionally with parents. It should also be noted that Mrs. Girardi appropriately seeks out administrative support when it is needed and implements suggestions when offered. Ms. Girardi is an integral part of our school community, and it is with great pleasure that I recommend the granting of tenure to this highly dedicated professional in the Merrick Union Free School District. Congratulations to both Renee and Eric.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to Lakeside and Caitlin Maloney.
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Caitlin Maloney has been a special education teacher at the Norman J. Levy Lakeside School since September 2016. Mrs. Maloney received her Bachelor of Science in Childhood Education from Long Island University and has a Master of Science in Special Education from Malloy College. Prior to working in Merrick, Mrs. Maloney worked as a special education teacher for the Young Autism Program. Mrs. Maloney builds excellent relationships with her students and colleagues. This has been evident with her relationship with her teacher assistants and the staff in her building. She is an exceptional planner, highly organized, and possesses a strong work ethic. Her classroom caringly nurtures students to grow emotionally, socially, and academically. Mrs. Maloney provides lessons that are creative, strategy, and skill-based. One of her strengths has been her ability to differentiate instruction to support students in all content areas. Mrs. Maloney utilizes interactive technology daily in the classroom to assist her students' individual needs. Additionally, Mrs. Maloney provides directions and feedback to teaching assistants shadowing students within the group and mainstream settings. Mrs. Maloney understands the importance of establishing partnerships with parents to support student learning. She believes in the importance of having a team-based approach in helping a child and regularly communicates with parents in order to share their child's progress. Mrs. Maloney also sends home a few daily charts with time intervals, subject areas, or an overall glimpse of their day. One of Mrs. Maloney's strengths is her ability to progress, monitor, and to collect anecdotal records. She has developed systems that ensure the accuracy of her data collection, as well as a checklist of each student's goals. She also analyzes the data in order to aid in student achievement. Mrs. Maloney is a lifelong learner who has partaken in a number of Merrick in-service courses and workshops. She has been participating on the site-based committee for the past 4 years. Mrs. Maloney established and co-advisors the Buddy Club. Additionally, she is always supportive of the district building and PTA initiatives and attends many of our school-wide events. Mrs. Maloney truly is an outstanding educator, and it is without reservation that I recommend the granting of tenure to this very dedicated professional in the Merrick Union Free School District. Congratulations.
Thank you. And now another Lakeside teacher, Thomas Velsor, our orchestra teacher.
Mr. Thomas Velser was hired in September 2017 as an orchestra teacher at the Lakeside School for students in grades 4 through 6. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Music Education from Hofstra University and later received a master's degree from Buffalo State, which was also in music education. Prior to his career in Merrick, Mr. Velser was an orchestra teacher at PS 89 in Queens. He is also a professional musician who has experience performing in orchestra, chamber, solo, as well as jazz settings. Mr. Velser is a dedicated and caring teacher who challenges his students to be the best they can be while developing a love and respect for a variety of music genres. Mr. Velser cares about each child, and this is evident in his careful planning, coordination, and implementation of his lessons. Mr. Velser tailors each lesson to meet the individual needs of each child in his group. He provides explicit and direct feedback to his students, supporting them in learning new material and working through challenges they may experience in the process. Whether the students are learning to read musical notes, working with smart music, or learning to perform as an ensemble, Mr. Velser demonstrates pride in their efforts, and they continuously rise to the high standards he insists upon. Mr. Velser is a gifted musician and a composer as well. He utilizes his talents and creativity to enhance our orchestra program. Throughout his years, he has arranged various music compositions for students to play at upcoming concerts. Mr. Velser has composed these music pieces based on the strengths and the abilities of the ensemble. He also helps to foster annual participation in NYSSMA and all county festivals by coaching students on their individual selections. Mr. Velser is a reflective teacher with a strong work ethic. He is eager to participate in professional development opportunities, and he is open to any and all feedback. We are fortunate to have Mr. Velser at Lakeside's orchestra teacher. It is with great pleasure that I recommend the granting of tenure to Mr. Thomas Velser. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Trenchant.
Thank you.
And now we're moving over to Chatterton, Daniela Bernice.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Ms. Daniela Vernice first began her career in the Merrick School District in 2014. She completed her undergraduate program at St. Joseph's College with a bachelor's degree in elementary education, special education, and speech pathology. She further graduated from St. Joseph's College in 2016 with a Master's of Arts degree in literacy and cognition. Ms. Vernice has worked in the Merrick School District as a teaching assistant in the special education summer program, a daily building substitute, a general education classroom teacher, and for the past 4 years as a special education teacher at Chatterton School. Ms. Vernice is a caring, dedicated, organized, and reflective practitioner who inspires students to reach their best each and every day. Ms. Vernice has a clear vision of students' needs and uses data to evaluate and drive her instruction and planning. She sets clear goals for her students and explicitly targets the skills and strategies necessary for student success and constantly monitors and records her students' progress and individual needs. She develops learning opportunities for students that are motivating and engaging with a high level of rigor. She provides thoughtful and meaningful feedback to students to further their learning. She encourages each child to be a reflective learner by knowing the steps they need to be successful at every given task. In addition to these identified strengths, Ms. Vernice's cheerful personality and positive demeanor is a wonderful asset to the Chatterton and Merrick community. She works collaboratively with her general education co-teacher to ensure that all students feel respected, supported, and develop a strong love of learning. The students in her care are consistently guided to put forth their best effort as she celebrates their accomplishments throughout each day. She helps the kindergarten students in her class feel safe in the warm, welcoming environment that she creates. Her classroom is alive with fun and creative activities to enhance the learning of all students. Ms. Vernice strives to be a reflective, lifelong learner. She is continually reflecting on her teaching practices and fine-tuning her skills by working closely with our literacy coaches to extend her learning and taking courses to gain further strategies on the teaching and learning process. She has been an active participant in many school activities, including Chatterton's Park Committee, PTA Spaghetti Nights, Bingo for Books, and the Girls on the Run Club. She has been a part of Chatterton's No Place for Hate Committee and is an integral member of Merrick's Visible Learning Team. Ms. Vernice has demonstrated an extraordinary high level of dedication, commitment, and professional integrity to the teaching profession and specifically to her Chatterton students. It is with great pleasure that I recommend the granting of tenure to Miss Daniela Vernice.
Thank you. Board of Education members, at this point, I'd like to recommend enthusiastically Renee Baritz, Erica Girardi, Caitlin Maloney, Thomas Belsor, and Daniela Vernice for tenure. I ask that you vote.
Is there a motion on the table?
Motion.
Motion.
Butch with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations.
On behalf of the Board of Education and our entire community, congratulations on being granted tenure. You already know that you're part of a very, very special district, and you make us even better than we already are. So thank you for all that you've done, but most importantly, all that you will do. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I think that's a great point. These individuals all have wonderful careers ahead of them. So thank you. So now we're going to move on to another very important group of people who are being reviewed for tenure. That is 4 of our teaching assistants. And I will be asking the building administrators to talk on their behalf. The first individual is Chelsea Burnsby, a teaching assistant at Lakeside. Libby, you're muted.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. The next 4 teacher assistants are all Lakeside teachers, and Mr. Gabris and I will divide the readings tonight. Mrs. Chelsea Burnsby was hired in Merrick in 2016 as a teacher assistant. Prior to that, she completed her student teaching at the Norman J. Levy Lakeside School. Ms. Burnsby received her teacher certification from Malloy College in childhood and special education grades 1 through 6. She is also currently pursuing a master's degree in education and technology at Capella University. Ms. Burnsby has worked in a variety of placements, but has found a home working within one of our self-contained classrooms. Ms. Burnsby has also found time to participate in our extended school year program, as well as our social skills program. Ms. Burnsby always takes initiative and is willing to create and modify resources as needed. She is a team player and often steps up whenever and wherever there is a need. Ms. Burnsby is extremely empathetic and patient. She routinely collects classroom data and shares her input on students' progress. Ms. Burnsby is responsible and responsive. She is quick to respond in any situation, especially those that require immediate attention. and works to keep open lines of communication with her cooperating teacher. Ms. Bernsby is an integral member of the Lakeside family, demonstrating a strong work ethic. She is rarely ever absent and is extremely punctual. She is a highly respected and valued teaching assistant who has developed positive relationships with her students. She is a dedicated professional who strives to ensure the academic, social, and emotional well-being of all children. It is for these reasons that I am recommending Miss Chelsea Bernsby to be granted tenure.
Thank you. The next candidate is Denise Crowley, who is being reviewed for tenure as a teaching assistant. But I think it's important to comment that in much of her time as a teaching assistant, she's actually served as a sub teaching for us in a variety of classes. So, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very proud to be here. Thank you for having me. Mrs. Denise Crowley was hired in September 2017 as a classroom teacher assistant for the Merrick School District. Mrs. Crowley received a Bachelor of Arts from Malloy College in Business Management and a master's degree from Malloy College in Childhood Education, Special Education, and Early Childhood Education. Previously, Mrs. Crowley worked in the Malvern School District as a teacher assistant and a kindergarten leave replacement teacher. Mrs. Crowley comes to school with a positive attitude and has developed a nice rapport with her students. She's an extremely dedicated employee who strives to ensure the academic, social, and emotional well-being of all children. Mrs. Crowley began her career as a teacher assistant at the Norman J. Levy Lakeside School. She gained important experience being placed in a variety of settings. This experience has even propelled her to multiple leave replacement teaching positions in Lakeside. Mrs. Crowley has found success both as a teacher assistant and a teacher. She is currently completing a full year leave replacement in 3rd grade as the special education teacher in a cooperative classroom. Mrs. Crowley has become skilled in implementing behavior intervention plans for students with intensive support needs. Along with implementing these behavior plans, she collects data in order to track her students' progress. Mrs. Crowley provides academic and non-academic support for students and demonstrates sensitivity and discretion at all times. Her flexibility, professionalism, and empathetic ways have proven her to be a tremendous support to her classroom community. As a member of the Lakeside professional community, Mrs. Crowley is a highly respected and valued teaching assistant and teacher. She has integrated seamlessly into our Lakeside family and has developed long-standing friendships both personally and professionally. Mrs. Crowley is a great team player, someone who is always looking to collaborate with her colleagues. She has shown significant strength in adapting to various situations, which allows her to work in multiple classroom settings. Mrs. Crowley carefully follows and implements the directions or steps given by her cooperating teachers. She is a huge asset to the Lakeside community, and most of all to her students. It is for these reasons that we are recommending Mrs. Denise Crowley to be granted tenure.
Thank you. And the next candidate, and by the way, I'm sorry, my screen went out for some reason there. But it's back now, right? You can all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, the next candidate is for teaching assistant tenure is Sarit Rosenfeld, also at Lakeside.
Mrs. Sarit Rosenfeld has been a valued member of the Lakeside community for 4 years. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in education from Adelphi University and her Master of Science degree in special education, also from Adelphi. Prior to Mrs. Rosenfeld joining Lakeside School, she spent over 20 years as a SEAD and as a teacher assistant at the Brookville Center for Children's Services. Since beginning at Lakeside School, Mrs. Rosenfeld has spent all 4 years within a self-contained classroom where she has found much success as a teacher assistant. Mrs. Rosenfeld is organized and proactive. She has great intuition and is a team player. She has been described as compassionate and humorous. Mrs. Rosenfeld also uses the character traits along with her contagious kindness to motivate the students she works with. Mrs. Rosenfeld is quick to respond in any situation especially those that require immediate attention. She works to keep open lines of communication with a cooperating teacher and is always willing to take suggestions as well as brainstorming ideas to help support the students. Mrs. Rosenfeld is a dedicated professional who strives to ensure the academic, social, and emotional well-being of all children. She also seeks out administrative assistance when needed. Mrs. Rosenfeld is a huge asset to the Lakeside community and most of all to her students. It is for these reasons that I am recommending Mrs. Sarit Rosenfeld to be granted tenure.
Thank you. And the final candidate of the evening for tenure as teaching assistant is Karen Senecola.
Mrs. Karen Senecola began her career as a teaching assistant at the Chatterton School in September 2008. Mrs. Senecola worked part-time, eventually being recruited from the summer program to work at the Lakeside School in a self-contained classroom. Mrs. Senecola has been an asset to the classroom and to the students she works with. She has been faced with many challenging learners and has been able to provide assistance as needed. While working one-on-one with students, Mrs. Senecola has used her experience and her skill set to be successful by finding what works to suit their needs. Mrs. Senecola is extremely dependable and hardworking. She is always willing to step up and excels as a problem solver. Mrs. Senecola is creative and is always finding new ways to deliver instruction to her students. She is a pleasure to work with, as she is always helpful and consistently looking to help out in any way that she can. Mrs. Karen Senecola continues to be an integral member of the Lakeside family, demonstrating a strong work ethic. She is also rarely absent and is always extremely punctual. She's a dedicated professional who strives to ensure the academic, social, and emotional well-being of all children. She's an asset to the Lakeside community and most of all to her students. It is for these reasons that we are recommending Mrs. Karen Senecola be granted tenure. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I would like to enthusiastically recommend Chelsea Burnsby, Denise Crowley, Sarit Rosenfeld, and Karen Senecola for tenure as teaching assistants. Board
Is
of
there a
Education.
motion from board members?
Motion.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On behalf of the Board of Education, we also want to congratulate all of you. We certainly don't have to tell you how important you are to the successful functioning of our schools and just how important you are to our children and everybody that you serve in the building. We're incredibly grateful for all of you, and we wish you much success for many years to come. So thank you all.
Congratulations.
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 Well deserved.
Congratulations.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve now items A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, B1 is the new policy on gender neutral bathrooms. It's a draft policy. It's our first reading, so we're not voting on that tonight. I'd like to make a motion to approve items D 1 through 3 and E 1 through 9.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to our hearing of visitors. Mrs. Kralovich, I believe that you are here to address the board.
I don't know if you guys could hear me.
We
We-
hear you, but not see you.
We just can't see you.
Oh, that's okay. You know what I look like. I just want to say good evening, and I am back. First of all, what I want to say is I would like to say that, the community and I realize and we really understand all of the difficult challenges faced by the administration, the teachers, and the board members, parents, and students during this past year of COVID. We understand very, very well. It has also been a year since I first contacted the district regarding the area along Dobson Avenue that has been turned into the operations facility and done. I just have a few questions tonight to ask. I would like just to know about the buses that are being stored and parked at Birch. Are we storing Chatterton and Lakeside's buses? And how many buses does Birch have?
So, Mrs. Kralovich, I just want to be clear, this is your time to address the board. Any questions that you have, I would ask that you put in writing and send them to the superintendent, and then he or his designee will get back to you.
Okay, so you really can't tell me then why Dr. Palmer and you, Dr. Kaplan, authorized that green shielding to go in? Like, I don't understand. We don't understand why that was installed. We're concerned now that with the warmer weather and summer coming, that shielding is going to encourage more vandalism and will invite more mischief. We are just confused about that. I just want to know that you do acknowledge that our situation here and what we really want, and that is just to preserve our neighborhood and our community. We please want you to make space elsewhere for things that cannot be stored. Please give us an update and please let us know what plans you have moving forward.
Thank you. We acknowledge that, and I assure you it's something we are continuing to work on. We want our neighbors on Dobson Avenue and everywhere, in fact, to be happy and, feel as though the district is being responsive. So thank you. And just know we continue to work on it. And if you have any specific questions, again, I encourage you to just send an email to the superintendent.
Okay, I'll do that. I have written letters and I will do it again.
Thank you. And
All right, thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you. That brings us to reports. of the
Dr. Kaplan, we have one comment in the mailbox.
I didn't
Not-
address board. These questions have to be.
Dr. Palmer, can you thank
That question is from Mrs. Fox. It's really a statement. Now that the state, I guess it's a statement question. Now that the state DOH has stated barriers could be removed, how quickly could we remove ours so that we can get back to a more normal classroom environment? In new business, I'm going to talk about the interim guidances that came up, so it'll kind of address that.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to reports of Belmore Merrick Central High School District Board members. And we are very fortunate to have the president of the Belmore Merrick Central High School District with us, Gina Piskin.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. So everything's moving along at the high school district. Want to congratulate the girls bowling team on the Nassau County Bowling Championship. That was very exciting. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that we are adopting our budget later than usual on April 20th. This is because we received foundation aid and we just wanted to give ourselves enough time to see how we can incorporate that into our new budget. So on April 20th, we are completing the budget and adopting it on April 20th. The principals and the administrators are working hard on how they're going to organize the prom and graduation. Details about that will come out soon. The spring sports are progressing, which is, I think, lacrosse, I know for sure, and all of the other ones are progressing. The students are still getting tested, and we're just moving along, doing everything that we normally do and trying to keep it as normal and as productive and happy for the students. So That's about it. Nancy, have anything to add to that?
No, I don't. You covered it, and I just want to thank you because you have done a remarkable job this year.
Thank you, Nancy.
Extraordinary circumstances as our president. We are really lucky in Merrick to have
As you have.
you at this time.
As you have. Okay, thank you.
That brings us to legislation.
Just as Dr. Palmer mentioned, the state assembly passed its final budget bills, and they completed their work on the state budget. And there was some extra state aid, which Mr. Butler mentioned, which will bring our budget into balance. That's it.
Okay. Any reports of board members? So I just have one report. So I'm fortunate enough to have colleagues who live and work in a variety of school districts. And I just have to say that our district really is the recipient of much respect for what our administration, central office, and building administrators, and every teacher and teaching assistant, and every facilities person, and everybody in our district, what we've been able to do this year. So I just want to offer a hearty thanks to everyone for what we've accomplished so far, and hopefully what we will continue to be able to do until the end of the school year. I know, and the board knows, that even though you make it look easy, it is anything but. So thank you all very, very much. That brings us to new business. Dr. Palmer?
The New York State Department of Health recently issued two guidance documents. Friday night, they issued a guidance document for in-person instruction at pre-K to grade 12 schools during the COVID-19 public health emergency. I believe that's what Ms. Fox was referencing. This document was New York State's reflection on recent CDC guidance. The purpose of the CDC guidance was to encourage schools across the United States, including in New York State, to get back to in-person learning. New York State, there's a lot more in-person learning going on than in many parts of our country, but there are portions of our state that are well beyond our level of in-person learning that's happening in Nassau County. And of course, in Merrick, where we have, I think all but about 7% of our children going into the third trimester will be in classrooms. As we switch to trimesters, we again invited parents to return that were in the remote program, return their children to school, and a good number of them have returned to school. I think we're only going to have 97 students in the remote program for the third trimester. The guidance that came out, we're looking at it now to determine what, if anything, needs to be changed, to see what we can update. We'll go through that with the administrative team. If there are things that we would consider, we'll go through the official process of seeking public comment, et cetera, and moving there. I will say, my first, I'd say about 3 reads of it suggest that there's probably not much we're going to want to change before the end of the school year. We have about 2.5 months of school left. We've been very successful at keeping kids in school despite the pandemic, despite quarantines. So we're going to look at it with a very critical eye for what, if anything, will change. The other document that came out, I believe it was last night, is updated interim guidance for end of year academic year celebrations during the COVID-19 state of emergency. It addresses things like graduation ceremonies, end of year ceremonies, things that we don't have to worry about, but the high school district will, proms, et cetera. And it lays out some of the updated rules about what we can do for these ceremonies. So we're reviewing those documents and we'll hopefully be able to have some really nice end of year celebrations for our exiting 6th grade students. And over the next few weeks, we'll be announcing what we're able to do in that area. That's the newest information.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. Is there any old business?
No, I don't think so.
So then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. And we will see you in May, hopefully in
In
person.
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 That would
Good
be
night,
great.
everyone. Good night.